It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the second day of November 2022. The show is being pre-recorded as this is embarkation day for me on Margaritaville at sea. Whatever. I'm going to West Palm and getting on a boat. So so the show is pre-recorded today, so unfortunately there will not be a chat room. The lead story this morning, we could have 2 hurricanes before the day is over. Wow. Brazil season opens. Celebrity Apex to call Southampton home in 2024. Symphony of the Seas earns a perfect score. AIDA to broadcast all of the FIFA World Cup games from Qatar on all of their ships. That and much more here this morning on Wednesday Travel and Cruise Industry News. Today, folks, is National Deviled Egg Day. You know, I like deviled eggs. I'm not sure I'll find one getting on Margaritaville. Let's express Margaritaville at sea paradise. There we go. But I'd love to. The only time I've ever seen deviled eggs on a cruise ship was on the Norwegian Sky this summer, and they had deviled eggs, which I thought was outstanding. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. And when I'm at sea, if I have issues with Wi-Fi, like I did last week, the podcast may be up late, but when I ever get to the point where I've got a good enough signal to upload the podcast, it'll be up. So I apologize for you guys having to miss a couple days live on the podcast last week. But it was as soon as I got the signal, they got up. So they'll always be there. Might be delayed. One of the drawbacks to sailing a lot. Hopefully that'll change one of these days. Anyway, in addition to my blog, accessadventure.net, where you can always access the podcast, you can get it wherever you get your podcast from. To search for Travel and Cruise Industry News. And up pops the fat travel guy. Always in the description of the podcast, there'll be a link to jump over to the video feed if you ever want to check out pictures or clips that I may be using either in the news or from some of my travels or travels from some of the Chillie Cruises family. So, and again, today's show is pre-recorded since it is embarkation day for me. If you missed the show yesterday, please check it out. Kevin Martin of his website or YouTube channel is called 30 and a Wake Up. Man, he was a good guest. I enjoyed that immensely. I've had a lot of comments from folks. So if you missed it, make sure you go back and check that replay out. That may be the best interview that I've ever had on the show. All right, I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. And the lead story, of course, this morning, folks, we got to deal with weather. It's a good possibility, folks, that today we'll see 2 hurricanes. I did a little checking this morning. Has it ever happened before? Certainly, there have been 2 hurricanes before. Has it ever happened in November? No. So this would be a first for November. And if the chance of one of these hitting the U.S., have we ever had November hurricanes in the U.S.? Yes. It's happened 4 times in the past. All right, Tropical Storm Martin is expected to strengthen during the next day or so. Currently, it's located about 755 miles east-northeast of Bermuda. Maximum sustained winds are 65 miles an hour. It's moving east at 10. This is a little troubling, folks. The central pressure is dropped to 989 and is dropping. So in all likelihood, it's going to become a hurricane shortly, probably by the next update. A turn northeastward and rapid acceleration are expected during the next couple of days. It's sitting at 65 miles an hour now with higher gusts. It's forecast to strengthen. So it will probably be a hurricane, like I say, by the next update, if not within the next couple hours. And then it will transition to a powerful extratropical system by early tomorrow. That brings us to Lisa. And folks, this one I wasn't all that concerned with as far as the U.S. is concerned. Well, we got to back up a little bit now and take a little harder look at this one. Of course, you folks down in Central America, Mexico, you need to be on guard. Lisa remains just below hurricane strength. As of 2 a.m. their time, so that was just 30 minutes ago. It's located about 70 miles northeast of Rotan, about 150 miles east of Belize City. Maximum sustained winds 70 miles an hour. Only needs 3 more miles an hour. Present movement is the west at 15. Pressure is at 994 and has been steady for the last couple hours. That's expected to drop also. A hurricane warning is in effect for Bay Islands, Honduras, the coast of Belize, and Chetumal to Costa Maya, Mexico. Hurricane warnings all the way up to Costa Maya. Tropical storm warning is in effect for the entire north coast of Honduras, the north coast of Guatemala, and Costa Maya to Punta Allen, Mexico. Interest elsewhere in Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula should monitor the progress of Lisa. The general motion, with some decrease in forward speed, is forecast during the next couple of days. The center of Lisa will move near or north of the Bay Islands of Honduras this morning, make landfall in Belize later today, and then cross northern Guatemala into northeastern Mexico by tomorrow. Of course, it's holding at 70 miles an hour right now with strengthening expected. So very shortly, and again, possibly by the next update, Lisa will become a hurricane. So that's going to happen shortly. That will happen over the northwestern Caribbean Sea and continue to intensify as it approaches Belize. How much, we don't know. We can't tell yet. A lot depends on exactly where it becomes a hurricane and how much it'll be over water. Because weakening is expected after it makes landfall. Now, that's what is troubling. This is what we thought was going to happen. It was going to weaken as soon as it hit land and probably just dissipate. But now, instead of continuing straight across like the last couple storms have done, high pressure system out over the Pacific is steering the sucker a little bit to the north. So you see from this map on the cone of uncertainty. Now remember, that's a cone of uncertainty, folks. And that was as of 4 a.m. Today. So that was just not that long ago. Of course, by the time you see this, it'll be several hours old. Possibly by the time you see this, both storms could be hurricanes. However, it looks like the storm is going to cross the Yucatan and get back in the Caribbean. And that's over very warm water. And then, as you see, it's starting to show bending to the north. And possibly, if it continues on that track, that's going to put the coast of Texas, possibly the Gulf Coast, into the equation. We just don't know once it hits that much warmer water. So, where we thought this was going to be damage to Central America, possibly Mexico only, that now has changed a bit. So we're going to have to watch this a lot closer over the next couple of days. And of course, I'm heading right in the middle of that on sailing on Saturday. So, and all the usual things that happen with hurricanes are going on now down there. Of course, a lot of wind is expected on the Bay Islands of Honduras beginning this morning along the coast of Belize, southeastern Yucatan this afternoon. Tropical storm conditions are expected to be along the northern coast of Honduras, within the warning area this morning, and in Guatemala and Yucatan later today. Rainfall now is looking like a lot more than we first thought. At least is expected to produce rainfall up to 10 inches across Belize, Bay Islands of Honduras, northern Guatemala, and eastern portions of the Mexican state of Chiapas and the Mexican state of Tabasco. Up to 6 inches across the far southeastern portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, northern Honduras, and central Guatemala. 1 to 2 inches across the rest of the area, including another 1 to 2 inches on the backside of this, back to the Cayman Islands and eastern Nicaragua. Of course, that leads to the possibility of flash flooding, especially in Belize and northern Guatemala. And of course, there could be storm surge up to as much as 4 to 7 feet wherever this thing goes ashore, and up to 4 feet throughout this whole area. That, of course, will bring surf into the equation. Swells generated by Lisa are expected to affect Jamaica, the Caymans, portions of Central America, and Mexico. And that could cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. All right, so how's it affecting the cruise industry? So far, as of this morning early, again, folks, this could have changed by now. Adventure of the Seas, Serenade of the Seas, Symphony of the Seas, and Carnival Vista have all changed their itineraries in advance of the storm to stay away from Lisa, and there could be other ships to change their itineraries before it's over with, especially if this thing reaches the Caribbean. Who knows what's going to happen then? At any rate, if you're sailing anytime soon, like I am, be aware of it and be ready to make changes at a moment's notice, because who knows what's going to happen. All right, the Brazil cruising season has officially opened with calls of MSC Fantasia, the first of several ships planned to home port in Brazil in the next 6 months. This is the largest expected cruise season for Brazil in 10 years, with 47% more visitors projected than in 2019 and 20. Now, of course, was pre-pandemic. So they're going to come almost to 50% more than they had that year. In addition to the MSC Fantasia, who will home port in Santos, other MSC ships that will home port in Brazil include MSC Harmonia, MSC Musica, MSC Preciosa, MSC Seaview, and one of the cruise's newest vessels, the MSC Seashore. Costa Cruises will also have several vessels home porting from Brazil: Costa Fortuna, Costa Fabulosa, Costa Firenze, which may be the last time this ship visits South America before transferring to Carnival to become Carnival Firenze in 2024. Some great news for my friends over in the UK. This broke yesterday. I first saw it from Dave Monk, and by shortly after that, everybody in the world had it. Celebrity Cruises announces it will base one of its newest state-of-the-art cruise ships in the UK from May until November 2024. Celebrity Apex will sail from its home port of Southampton, the largest cruise ship in the UK. The Edge-class cruise ship will explore beautiful European destinations such as the Mediterranean, Norway, and even the Arctic on 4 to 13 night itineraries. terrific news for Southampton and UK. That's awesome. The Apex will be there. Carnival has made a couple changes that got a lot of people very happy. They're bringing back one of the most sought after benefits for its diamond and platinum loyalty guests as of November 3rd. That would be tomorrow. The priority boarding for those guests will once again be available. Priority boarding has been one of the most sought after benefits in the VIFP program, and one that past guests are eager to take advantage of once again. And one of my favorite ships, Symphony of the Seas, man, look at this. They got a perfect score. The second time I've reported on a perfect score recently. But Symphony of the Seas earned a perfect 100 points on its most recent United States public health inspection last week. The Royal Caribbean International ship earned a 100 USPH rating during an announced inspection on October 29th at Port Miami. Congratulations and thanks to the 2,200 hardworking crew who have made this ship one of the cleanest vessels sailing from U.S. ports. I love Symphony of the Seas. And I love the crew on it too. Speaking of crew, this will make a lot of crew happy. AIDA cruises, I don't get to talk about them much because they're almost always European. But AIDA Cruises announced that all matches of the FIFA 2022 World Cup, which will be hosted in Qatar, will be broadcasted live on board all 12 of their ships. Football matches from the opening day of the World Cup to the closing day will go live on large screens in the theater, on the pool deck, and in the Four Elements. Congratulations to AIDA and to all the soccer fans that will be following the World Cup. So, again, folks, apologies for this being a pre-recorded show this morning. Hopefully, if I have any kind of signal, I will be live with you tomorrow on normal schedule. And hopefully, if I have any kind of signal, I'll get a live stream in today from on board the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise. We're going to try. That's it for here. I'm coming to you from Stuart, Florida, well, right across the waterway from Stuart. I'm heading to West Palm here in the next couple hours to embark. We'll get back with you then. I'll see everybody tomorrow on Travel and Cruise Industry News. This is the old fat travel guy. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on this high seas. Have a fantastic day, everybody.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.